Let's get right into it with our money line picks and best bets for week 11. A reminder that entering the week, we are 101 and 51 in the money line. We're 31 for 50 in best bets. In week 10, we went 10 and 4 in the money line, 2 for 5 in best bets. We're going to try to have a bounce back week this week, and we kick things off with the New England Patriots, who are favored by 12 and a half against the New York Jets. You guys know that generally I try to stay away from Thursday night bets this year. Listen, I think it's very possible this thing's a blowout by halftime. I think the Jets, who only had 50 yards passing against the Browns last week and still found a way to come out and win the game, I think that they are going to put out a putrid offensive performance against the Patriots. I think Drake May is on a roll. I think the Patriots have a real chance to be that number one seed in the AFC. My issue for New England is this. Drake May has gotten hit the most times out of any NFL quarterback in the league this year. The Jets are a division rival. I don't know how explosive New England can get offensively. I think there's going to be ball control here. I think it's certainly the Patriots have a real chance to blow them out, but you never know. It's a short week. It's a Thursday night. It's a divisional game. I think division games in a short week are weird. With that being said, I'll take the Patriots, but I'm just not going to bet the game. I think there are better numbers on the board this week, though. I wouldn't blame you if you took New England. No, I'm not touching this game. Commanders Dolphins. It's in Spain. It's 9:30 in the morning. It's Marcus Mariota versus Tua Tagovailoa. I don't care who wins this game, quite frankly. I think both these teams' season are over. I think the Commanders with Dan Quinn taking back over play calling as they head overseas internationally could make a little bit of a difference. The Commanders are beat all to hell. They're injured all to hell. They looked lifeless the last 2 weeks against the Seahawks and Lions. You figure the Dolphins are a team that can at least keep pace with someone. Tua Tagovailoa has been very good in rhythm passing this year. International games are weird. It's our final international contest of the year. The Dolphins are favored by 2.5, which tells me Vegas thinks the Dolphins are the better team. I'll just go ahead and take the Dolphins. Then we have two teams who are looking to bounce back. You have the Bucks, who suffered an ugly loss coming off a bye against the Bills, who suffered a terrible loss against the Miami Dolphins in Miami. I think Tampa, even if they lose this game, they're still in good position to win the NFC South, especially with Carolina going to Atlanta this week, and one of those teams are going to lose. For Buffalo, if they lose this game to Tampa, New England beats the Jets. They are pretty much out of it in the race of the AFC East, and they can start thinking about wild card when this division the last 5 years has been the Buffalo Bills Invitational Division. Therefore, I think this game matters more to the Bills. I think Josh Allen's heard the noise about him turning the football over. They're going to get James Cook involved. I do worry about Dalton Kincaid missing this game for Buffalo. I think he's a big weapon for them. The way they play with those two tight ends, him and Dawson Knox out there on the field. But I think, again, the Bills are the more desperate team, which is why they'll get this thing done at home. Then, I alluded to this game earlier. Carolina at Atlanta. The Atlanta Falcons are the only team that Bryce Young plays well against. Atlanta, the last 2 weeks, have had heartbreaking losses to the New England Patriots and the Indianapolis Colts. So we'll see if they can bounce back at home. I mean, this is an Atlanta team that some people predicted to win the NFC South this year. If they're going to have even a remote chance of doing so, they have to win this game against Carolina. Michael Penix has been very good at home this year. I think that continues. Atlanta's favored by 3.5. I'll stay away from the bet, but I'll take the Falcons to win. Now, if it wasn't for the Giants firing Brian Dable, I would take the Packers here -7.5. But the fact that Brian Dable was fired by the Giants, you guys know my rule. Generally, with interim head coaches, that first week, it's the substitute teacher. They all play well. I think the Giants' defensive line is going to have the opportunity to get after Jordan Love and that Packers' offensive line that is banged up. We'll see if Matthew Golden comes back. We saw how much they struggled without Tucker Kraft as well in the passing game. Green Bay just doesn't look right. And I think they're going up against a Browns team who had a good defensive line. They lost. A good Philadelphia Eagles team with a good defensive line. They lost. I would not be surprised if this is another Green Bay Packer offensive struggle, but they still find a way to win because they need a way to win to keep pace not only for a potential NFC North spot, but even in the wild card spot. Because speaking of the wild card spot, we have a rematch of week one here between the Bears, who were dogs by 1.5 points that night in Chicago, and JJ McCarthy played an incredible fourth quarter, and Minnesota came back and won that game. The Vikings always play the Bears well. These are two teams that always play each other well. I think the Vikings, they had that big win against the Lions. Then they had a letdown at home against Baltimore. The Bears, I know they played an ugly game in the snow. They got the victory against the Giants, but I think Brian Flores is going to bring a lot of this heat against Caleb Williams. I think this could be a little bit of a struggle bus game for the Bears offense. Minnesota, to me, still believes that they have a shot to get back into this NFC North race. If they're going to have any shot, they got to win this game. Another game I'm just not going to bet. So I'm taking the Vikings at home. Divisional matchups can be tricky. I think the Vikings are favored by 3 for a reason. I don't know what to make of Jacksonville. They were stomping the Texans last week 29-10. They give up that big lead to not CJ Stroud, but Davis Mills, the Houston Texans. And now they're at home. Listen, they beat the Chiefs this year. Is that a blip on the radar? Maybe. I mean, we early on in this season looked at the AFC South and we thought it was a Colts Jaguars division. Now it's looking like it's just a Colts division. For the Chargers, I have no idea what to make about them from a week to week basis because Justin Herbert is getting obliterated by that offensive line. But it is Jim Harbaugh, it is those weapons. But we saw what happened to Buffalo when they went down to that Miami Heat. Could be very similar situation here with the Chargers, even though I know they're used to that LA Heat, going from Los Angeles all the way down to Jacksonville, Florida. To me, if there's an upset on the board this week in a trap game, it could be this game. I'll take Jim Harbaugh, though, over William Cohen. I'll take the Chargers on the road, but I don't feel great about it. Then, Texans Titans. Listen, this game was 6-0 in week four, into the fourth quarter before the Texans pulled away. In my opinion, we'll see what Mike McCoy and the Tennessee Titans have cooking off their bye week. I think the Texans, with that big win over Jacksonville, they still got 2 games with the Colts left. Maybe they feel like they win this game, they get back to 5-5. Maybe they have a shot if they beat the Colts twice to get back and win that AFC South division. It's technically not out of the neck of the woods yet, especially with the Colts on their bye, and then they got to take on the Chiefs next week. So I don't think the Texans are going to let the Titans slip one past them. I think this may be a close game. Tennessee may cover the 7. I'm not touching the game, but I do have the Texans winning. So we have 15 games this week on the NFL schedule. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 games left, and I have not made a best bet. So you know the bets are coming. The first one starts here. The Bengals are on the road. They upset the Steelers in Cincinnati about a month ago on a Thursday night. The Steelers have not won a game since they beat the Colts. I think that they know with the Ravens chasing them on their tails, with how bad they've looked 2 out of the last 3 weeks, on Sunday Night Football, I believe that Aaron Rodgers and the Steelers make a statement. The Bengals defense is not able to keep up. Aaron plays a very good, clean game. Mike Tomlin gets this team rolling again. TJ Watt, Alex Highsmith, they get after the passer. The Pittsburgh Steelers cover the 5.5 points. The interesting thing here for the Bengals, though, is yes, they did let those games against the Jets and Bears slip away. But if they were to win this game against the Pittsburgh Steelers, I believe then that they have a hard game coming up in week 12 But then they get the Ravens in week 13 on Thanksgiving, and that's when potentially Joe Burrow could be back in the lineup. So maybe the Bengals are playing for their season. Maybe they're playing for Joe Burrow to come back. And like last year, starting in week 13, they make a run. They get to 9-8. They try to sneak if they can sneak into the playoffs. I don't know, but I think the Steelers feel like their division right now is at stake more so than the Bengals. San Francisco at Arizona. Arizona got embarrassed last week, so I do think they're going to play really well and they're going to come out. I think Jacoby Brissett's going to have a real nice game against San Francisco. I just don't know if it's going to be enough because of the way the Niners lost that game to the Rams. Again, you look at the NFC playoff picture right now: Eagles out east, Rams and Seahawks out west, Lions, Bears slash Packers in the north, Tampa in the south. I think it's very clear the Niners and either the Bears or the Packers are essentially battling for free spots. And the NFC North, I think, is going to get obviously then one of those spots. Who's going to get that second spot? So I think the game matters more to San Francisco. Seahawks at the Rams. The Seahawks have been a wagon. They blew out the Saints in week 3. They took apart the Commanders on Sunday Night Football a couple weeks ago. The Arizona Cardinal game was over within 5 minutes this past Sunday. But outside of Baker Mayfield, who they lost in Seattle in week 5, this is by far, so far to this point, the best quarterback they have played all season long in Matthew Stafford, who's completely in rhythm. He's not getting hit a lot. Besides the Eagles' defensive line, this will be the toughest defensive line he will go up against this season. McVay has historically owned the Seahawks. I'm going to stick with that trend. I'm taking the Rams -3. Then, I think it says something. The Chiefs are 5-4. Denver is 8-2. And yet the division rival Chiefs are favored by 3.5. I'm locking that in. Chiefs -3.5. Bo Nix is at happy feet in the pocket. He's missing open receivers. He's not playing well until about the fourth quarter when they're in behind mode. He can get in no huddle and just let the football loose. Andy Reid coming off a bye. Say no more. The Chiefs are bouncing back from their loss against Buffalo in Buffalo. They know how to win in Denver. Yes, I know Sean Payton's going to get his guys ready for the Chiefs. I know how much this game potentially means to Denver, but this game means a lot to Kansas City too. Because if Denver wins this game and gets to 9-2, and the Chiefs are 5-5, you can say goodbye to the AFC West title and any chance the Chiefs have. As opposed to the Chiefs being 6-4, the Broncos being 8-3, then yeah, there's a real shot for the Chiefs to win the division. Ravens at the Browns. I think there's a real chance the Browns could cover 8.5. We know how well their defense is. I don't think the Ravens are going to be looking past the Browns like they have last year in week 8 when Snoop Huntley beat them in Cleveland. The Browns do match up typically well against the Ravens. They know how to play against Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry. We saw the Ravens defense force all those turnovers on the Browns in week 2. Otherwise, it probably would have been a lot closer game with Joe Flacco being the starter there in Baltimore. But I think after what we saw last week against the Jets, the Browns have just quit, and the Ravens know the Steelers are right on their tail in the AFC North. Again, I think the points may be too much on Baltimore's side. I don't want to look like an idiot, though, if they cream the Browns. I'll stay away from the bet, but I like the Ravens to win. Then, friend of the show, Jalen Sandvik, his Detroit Lions. They take on my Philadelphia Eagles, who are favored by 2.5 points. Over the past half decade, I would say these are the two best offensive lines in football. This is the matchup who fans wanted to see last year in the NFC Championship game take place in Detroit. For me, the fact that Dan Campbell took over play calling shows he's not confident in John Morton. We'll see if the success continues. He's facing a much better team and a much better defense in this Eagles defensive line, who Jalen Phillips already looks like in one game with the team has added the juice that alongside Jalen Hunt and Nolan Smith, this team is needed to bring that pass rush back to Super Bowl level status. And I think it's going to come down to which quarterback can make a play, which team is going to be tougher. And I think the Eagles at home have the advantage here. Outdoors, cold Philadelphia night with that crowd going crazy. I think the Eagles do just enough to stop Jameer Gibbs and David Montgomery in the run game, where I think Saquon Barkley has more success for Philadelphia. Give me the Eagles, and I'm taking my team minus 2.5. And then I'm actually taking my arch rival, Dallas Cowboys, ahead of the Eagles Cowboys Week 12 rematch in Jerry's World. The Cowboys have had a Monday night game where they lost to the Cardinals, a bye, and then another Monday night game. They're coming off the death of Marshawn Kneyland, a very sad story there. It's going to be an emotional week for Dallas, who I think they know they can't lose to the Raiders, who are now on back to back primetime games. The helpless Raiders, who only scored 7 points against the Broncos Thursday night. And there's one get right game for the Raiders offense or Cowboys defense. Is this game? I think Dak Prescott significantly outplays Geno Smith. Dallas covers the 3.5. Yes, I'm taking all 5 favorites this week. So to recap, I got New England over the Jets. I have Miami over Washington in Spain, Buffalo over Tampa, Atlanta over Carolina, Green Bay over the Giants, Minnesota over Chicago, the Chargers over Jacksonville, Houston over Tennessee, Pittsburgh over Cincinnati, San Francisco over Arizona, the LA Rams over the Seattle Seahawks, the Kansas City Chiefs over the Denver Broncos, the Baltimore Ravens over the Browns, Philly over Detroit, and then Dallas over Vegas. My 5 best bets for week 11 of the 2025 NFL season are: I like the Steelers in a week 7 rematch. I think they cover the 5.5 against Joe Flacco and the Bengals. I like the Rams in another divisional game, taking the 3 at home against the Seahawks. Another divisional game. Kansas City on the road. I think it speaks volumes. They are the better team. Andy Reid off a bye to me. You just bet it no matter how much people think the Broncos are 8-2. I think the Eagles win the battle of these two NFC powerhouses at home, minus 2.5 over the Lions. And then Monday night, in their second consecutive Monday night game, Dallas bounces back against a helpless Raiders team. They cover 3.5. I take 5 favorites this week. Like that clip from the Brands World podcast? If so, make sure you go down there and hit that subscribe button. While you're down there hitting the subscribe button, make sure to also hit the notification bell so you never miss another upload. And make sure you check out all the other clips from the Brands World podcast right here on YouTube.